I came here for the topic.
Good. That's gonna be good. Listings. We're gonna go hardcore on listings
Oh,
today.
perfect.
And then next week, we're gonna do CMAs. Maybe this will work. Come on. Let's try. There
I'm
it
at
goes.
that stage with the title company where they've given me back Schedule B,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm talking to Kim, but I didn't to it because I think I talked to title about these things.
So main thing is you want to check and make sure the seller matches what's on title commitment. So on the first couple pages, it'll list that need to convey. So you want to make sure sellers match the contract.
Okay.
Then who do you represent, seller or buyer?
Seller.
So then you're looking at C for liens and make sure there's no surprise lien. C, yep.
Okay.
B is for buyers. So B is for buyers. Think of it that way. And those are all of the links to the restrictions and covenants that
Do
are.
I want to print it and have that in my?
I wouldn't. I mean, you don't have to print them all. You want to print the ones that a buyer would care about. Like there's a lot of restrictions and stuff that don't mean much, like how to set up the HOA or whatever. What you care about are the restrictions that talk about, how long can a trash can be left out? How tall can the grass get? Like anything. Okay.
And I was gonna print them just so I could read them better.
Well, it's a lot probably. I mean, I don't know that you want to read them all. You could. As a seller, I would get into it, but for a buyer, the buyers would care more.
But I want to have them available in case the buyer asks.
Yeah,
And I
for
want to know
sure.
what they are, and these are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 documents.
And some of them may only be a page long. They could be amendments, there's usually one set of deed restrictions and covenants that you could attach to the MLS for buyers,
Okay.
and put in your binder, but then all the rest of the stuff is just legal stuff.
And because this document with the link in it from title is temporary, like they had to redo a new one since we started so long ago.
Right.
Which I still have your sign in the box I've had for a while because this is delayed, but it's coming.
Yep.
I should save all of these, probably.
You could, but the minute you go under contract, they're going to redo commitment pertaining specifically to the contract, to that sales price. And then they'll deliver all those restrictions to the buyer.
I don't need to read through every single one thoroughly. I guess I feel like I should have them printed, but okay.
No, I mean, you can print the one that buyers would care about, but you may not even have much like that. I don't know. Okay, let's get going. We have a really full day. Let me pull up everything we're going to cover. Morning. Okay. She just passed. So Layla and Chase are two that recently passed their test. Layla, did I give you a binder? Okay. It's on my chair in my office. Just remind me when we're done. Everyone's still jumping in. Okay. So for those of you who are just getting your binder, so for Chase and Layla, the back of your binder is an area for reference. And actually, I think Morgan, yours is too. I didn't print everything in the world that can be in there. So like today, we're going to talk about some stuff. And if you want them, feel free to print them and hole punch them and add them into your binder. I would like to save things as we go. Today, we're going to talk about listings and cover a lot on listings. We're going to talk about basically from the first initial phone call with a lead all the way through a listing appointment. What does that look like and what do we say? And then next week, we'll dive into how to do a CMA for listing appointments. We may have time today to do CMA, but I doubt it. We'll try. For those of you online, are there any special requests before I jump into listings? Any hot topics, questions going on, concerns out there? You all can hear me online, correct?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right. So let's jump in. So on our portal, under company docs, there's a folder for listings. And so everything I'm going to be working on is located here. The seller lead sheet. So there's a seller information sheet. That's a really old one. Let's not go to that one. There's a seller, this Word one. Everything in here, you're going to want to download it and save it to use. And this is a form that I would put in your binders if I were you guys. So we have lease lead sheets, buyer lead sheets, and this is the seller lead sheet. So you want copies of these available the minute a seller calls you and says, I'm thinking of selling my home. Or maybe you're driving around and you see a for sale by owner sign and you want to call them. Or you're in Gold Leads and one of the leads says they have a home to sell. You want to be able to ask really good questions on the initial phone call that will help set up the successful listing appointment. If we don't get all these questions answered, then we could show up to an appointment and be really unprepared. So the first thing I do when they say, oh, I'm thinking of selling, I want to get an idea of what my home's worth. I'm going to say, that's great. I'd love to schedule a time to come look at the home. Very rarely will you have a seller who kind of wants to interview you at the office first before they let you come see their home. That usually doesn't happen. Usually the appointment is we're going to come see the home to talk about the value, because all I can do right now is look at what homes are selling for in your area. But until I actually go see it and smell it and see what the neighbors look like, see what kind of improvements have you done to it or not, I don't know really what it's worth until you get all those other things. Like if it smells like smoke everywhere, that home is worth about 30% less than if it doesn't. Smoke is a killer on value. Like it's horrible. So we just don't know those things until we go. One time I went on a listing appointment, there was literally a giant water tower right next door, or an apartment complex in the back. Like those kind of things really affect the value, and you can't tell from looking online sometimes. So we need to ask all those questions and then ask all these questions, and then the end game is to schedule an appointment to go see the home. So I'll explain to them, and let's role play. Who wants? Carrie, you're going to role play with me since you're my most experienced. So let's just say I've answered the phone and you say, hi, I have a home I'm thinking of selling. Okay. So ring, ring, ring. Hi, this is Carlin. How can I help you?
Hi, Carlin, thanks for calling me back.
Yep.
I have a home that I'm looking to sell.
Oh, great.
I was referred to you by a friend.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate that. What I'd love to do is schedule a time for us to get together. I'd like to come see the home. Is it okay if we come and I'll meet at the property so I can take a look at it?
Yeah,
Get an idea of value?
tidy it up.
No, don't even worry about it. For the appointment, I just want to see what we have to work with,
Of course.
and then we'll talk about a game plan from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, wonderful. So if you don't mind, if you do have a few minutes right now, I'd love to ask some questions so I can better understand the situation.
Sure.
Okay, great. And then I'm going to go through these questions. And they don't have to be exactly in this order, but there are some main questions I definitely want to know. So I want to know, Carrie, are you the only one that's on title that will be the decision maker in selling the property?
I am.
Okay, great. If there's more than one, I want all parties at that listing appointment. If I can't have all parties at the listing appointment, then they can't make a decision at the listing appointment. And then it becomes a much harder sell, because now I'm having to sell Carrie and hope she can sell me to somebody else. And that makes it more difficult. Let's say you said no.
It's like my client.
Okay, yeah. So don't make it too tough, because we got to get through a lot of content on me. But we have a lot to cover. But so Carrie, are you the only decision maker on the home when it comes to sell? Are you the only one on title?
Yes, I am. I do want to tell you I have power of attorney. It's my mom's home.
Okay,
And
okay,
I have power of attorney, and I'm the only one. Yes,
Perfect.
I have power of attorney.
okay, perfect. Let's pretend you just said no, so I can script and role play that one.
Instead of my sister
Yeah.
lives in
Well, no. I'm going to ask you, are you the only decision maker on the home? And you're going to say, no, I have a significant other or something.
Okay, so no, I have my husband.
Okay, great. So would he be available for the listing appointment or for the appointment when I come? Don't say listing appointment, because I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, he'll be available.
I just want to make sure he can be at the appointment when we schedule the appointment. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. And then I'm going to go into the question. So we want to know, first of all, Carrie, tell me a little bit about why you're selling. And I want you to give me really short, brief answers just so we can practice, because the most important thing is me asking the questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're getting near where we want to go. It's, retire and have fun. And we have a couple of homes that we're downsizing. And this is a home that it's too big.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
make some money.
All right, that sounds like a great plan. Where would you be moving to?
Where we're gonna get a camper. And
Okay.
go travel, and then we've got a couple of condos in Austin, so I think one of them will be able to, once the lease is up on that one.
Move
we'll
into
be
that.
able to Move into that one. and-
Wonderful. Okay, great. So has she said, oh, we want to buy something in Austin, like we want to do the camper life, but we also want to buy a smaller home, then I would immediately mention I can help her with both. And I'm going to offer a discount on my commission, and I'll save you some money if you use me on both. Now you guys are like, crap, I don't want to give away my commissions. I highly recommend you do. I highly recommend you don't commit to an amount at first. You just throw out there that I can save you money by helping you with both transactions. When we're in the driver's seat and can control both transactions, our lives are much easier. We can keep them from being homeless. But also, if we don't offer a discount of some kind, somebody else is going to stab us in the back and get it. And so, especially when they're out there looking to buy at the same time they're needing to sell, they're on realtor.com and Zillow, and agents are talking to them, and someone else is going to offer that. And so we need to beat everybody to the punch to secure it. So I'm throwing out just a teaser, just so you know, Carrie, since you do want to buy, I actually can help with both transactions. And what's great about that is that I'm going to be able to time it so that you're not homeless in any way, shape, or form. And I'll also be able to protect you on both transactions, protect your earnest money, your exposure. But I also offer a bit of a discount in my services to you by using me on both transactions. We can talk about it more in the
Well, that's-
appointment.
Yeah, and that's great because, we could leave our 2 condos as rentals and buy.
Oh, there
there's
you go.
Another condo and then buy, we've only looked at it so low.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be great if you're in listings and, just for the sake of the class, I wanted to say that makes total sense to me to give a discount on the second one.
Yeah, I mean,
Two.
if you're making 6% total, that's a huge amount of money. But you may not want to say in the initial phone call, I'm going to save you 1%, well, they may be a very difficult client. You may not want to give away that much. You just want to tease them with, I want to give away something.
Well, because you're doing 2 transactions with me.
It is.
Then it's,
yeah.
then I would consider this.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so next questions. Ideally, so Carrie, let me ask you this. If I could wave a magic wand, when would you want this transaction to happen and be in the new house? And then I'm gonna also ask you a little bit about, describing what your house is like, but let's first start with when do you want to be there? When do you want this done?
I think mid to late August.
Okay,
Would
it's
be
pretty
reasonable.
quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to take off before the weather gets too bad, but, yeah, that would be fine. It can, if we need to do some work on, if you find that we need to do some work on it, then we have a little range, maybe
Okay.
between then and the end of November.
Okay, totally doable. We can do that. And I've got people who can help if we need to do some work on it, if that's an option for you. Let me ask you, how long ago did you purchase the home?
2002.
Okay. And do you know ideally, or roughly how much do you owe on the home?
We owe about 80,000
Okay.
on the home.
Perfect. That's great. Lots of equity, which is
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have a question for you. I'd love for you to describe your home to me. I should have asked the address probably up front. The first question I would have asked is what's the address? But I'm jumping into the meat and bones. Describe your home to me. And the reason I'm asking that question, and it's an incredibly important question, is I want to know what type of personality she is. Have you guys heard of the DISC, DISC personality? So a DISC is an assessment, and there's all kinds of different personality assessment tests out there. But DISC is driver, influencer. I want to say steady, but it's not steady.
Oh, yeah, social.
Social.
No, your I is your social. Hold on. Now I'm going to go off on a tangent. We're going to save time because we have too much to cover. It's in your books.
I'll do
You'll
it.
figure it out. Thank you. It stands for something, but it really, in my mind, stands for steady. And then C is compliant. So I want to ask the open-ended question of describing her house, because I do want to know a little bit about the house, but I'm really getting a sense of which personality type she is, so that when I go on my appointment, I know how to pitch to her.
Steadiness. You got
It is steady? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so you are a high eye. Yeah, you're my eye. So high eyes are talkers. They're the life of the party. they get a lot of energy from talking to a million people. Like you can't take a high eye out grocery shopping without them talking to the people in line, or, you know, like they're going to talk to everybody. The problem with a high eye is that they're hard to keep on track and focused and like get to the job. So if I'm a high eye listing agent and she's a high eye client, we're not going to get anything accomplished unless I really pay attention and keep us on track. I'm a high D. Okay, so Ds are good agents, but we have to channel our high eyes, especially if we're going on a high eye listing appointment. Like a D is a driver, they're the doer. They're like, just get it done. Just tell me what I need to know, and let's get to the meat and bones of it, and let's get it done, right? So if I ask Carrie, who's a high eye, about describing your house to me, she's going to talk about all the great friends in the neighborhood, all the parties I have, the neighbors are amazing, relationships.
Opening the kitchen into the den and how we love to be in that. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about all that. A high D, right? Yeah, you're not even going to care. The high D is just going to say it's 2,000 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this neighborhood, right? Like they're just bullet points. That's it. Your high S's, your high C's. This SC personality types are usually your engineers who are like all details, right? They're like, oh, well, I have a spreadsheet for you. I'll be glad to send it to you. Or they're going on and on and on specifically about, well, we're the biggest lot in the neighborhood. You know, we bought it for this, we did this. Like they're just full of facts and data. Okay. So we asked this question to help analyze who are we dealing with, so that when we go on that appointment again, if I go on an appointment with a D, my appointment better be quick and to the point. I already know that they're ready to commit to me because they're willing to meet with me. I've already crossed that hurdle. They're willing to meet with me. If our numbers align, then they're going to pick me, because they don't want to waste time interviewing a bunch of people. A high I, if I become their best friend on the listing appointment, I've got it in the bag. An SC isn't going to commit on the appointment. They're going to want to interview and study. So you better have facts and you better have questions ready. Like they're the ones who have gone online going, what question should I ask my agent on the listing appointment? You know, and then they're going to be like, well, what's your list to sales price ratio? And what's this? And how long have you done this? And how many homes? And what, you know, like question overload. And so that's why I'm asking this question, is to understand what am I going into so I can be prepared. Does that make sense? So she's going to describe her home. I'm going to conclude she's a high I. Then I'm going to ask this last question, which is really important. Carrie, do you have an idea of what you want to get for your home?
Yeah, we'd like to get, we'd like to get about 730,000.
Okay. Okay.
And, you know, we've seen a little bit in the market, so I hope that you'll coach me on that. Our taxes just came back
Mhm.
and the market value is around that.
Okay.
The tax value is less.
Okay.
I know that there's some improvements that would probably be needed in this decade. In the past, we've always kept the house up to date.
Okay.
You want more because I'm.
No, you're good. Yep. Nope. I'm gonna shut you down. You're good. So you're gonna do one of two things, right? They're either gonna be like, oh yeah, we've been watching the market and we think it's worth X. But a lot of people are going, oh no, that's what you're for. So I'm gonna ask you the question again, and you're gonna be my high D who's like, no, that's why I'm hiring you. I want your opinion. So that's what you're gonna say to me next. Okay. So Carrie, do you have an idea of what you want to get for a sales price on your home?
What I called you.
Okay, no, totally valid. I understand that. I just like to ask the question. Trust me, your opinion of value isn't going to influence my opinion of value. I like to know going into the listing appointment what your opinion of value is, so I know and understand how to educate you on really what the market value is. Because what I find is 9 times out of 10, most sellers have one value in mind and the reality of the market may be different. Does that make sense?
I want to be, ask me, I want to be the SC.
So Carrie, do you have an idea of what you want to get for your home, a sales price in mind?
I've done a full spreadsheet on this and I believe that we can get about 722,000, but we'd like to reach for 734.5.
Okay. Okay. And they're probably going to start tracking price per square foot with you. Like that's exactly what an SC is going to do. That's exactly right. Okay, great. So as I'm asking all these questions, I'm taking crazy notes, writing everything down. As I prepare for this listing appointment, are there any other features or anything you think I should know before I come take a look at the home? You know, anything that really sold you on purchasing the home to begin with?
We're on a very quiet cul-de-sac.
Okay.
In the West Creek neighborhood, down near, William Cannon and Impact,
Mhm.
Bushy Creek over there.
Yep.
I think that the con is we haven't opened our kitchen.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's something, but the pro is we've got a full front extra formal room. It
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
have to be a formal room, so not the den, but, and I visited homes and some homes call that an extra bedroom
Oh,
and they've walled it off. We don't have that. So
okay.
we've got a good floor plan, a good square footage, quiet cul-de-sac. All the bedrooms are on the first floor. We've got trees, lovely
Okay.
trees.
Wonderful.
I
I
think
can't
that
wait
the
to see it.
Upgrade on the kitchen area
Mhm.
is going to be one thing we'll need to have to consider if that's something we're doing or just sell it.
Well, yeah, let me come take a look at it and we'll talk about both options, right? Really timing of the market, I think, is important. And so it may behoove us to go ahead and get it on the market. And we could showcase the potential in the home. But what I'm gonna do now is pull comps. I'm gonna put together a seller information packet for you. I'm gonna deliver it to your porch this evening. It'll be there by 6 o'clock. And then does Thursday or Saturday work better for you as far as getting together at the house?
Let me check my schedule. I think Saturday would probably be better.
Okay, I've got,
Yeah,
I've got 10 o'clock or 3 o'clock, which either
let's
this,
do 10 a.m.
10, perfect.
We'll have coffee for you.
All right, wonderful. Well, like I said, I'll put a packet on your porch this evening before 6, and then I'll see you Saturday morning. Oh, I didn't ask a question. So Carrie, are you going to be interviewing any other agents? I know you were referred to me from a trusted source, which I truly appreciate and value highly, but I just want to know, are you going to be interviewing any other agents for the job of selling your home?
Yes, I typically do 3.
Okay.
Everything I do just to keep me safe. Not safe, that's not a good word, but you did come highly recommended. So I really look forward to meeting you.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Well, you know what I'd love to do is I'd love to be the last one you interview for the job. Have you set the other 2 appointments?
I'm not.
Okay, so if you want, we can keep our appointment for Saturday. And hopefully maybe you can interview those other 2 agents before you meet with me, just because you'll see how fabulous I am and all the services I offer. And then that way we can sign and get started. But if that doesn't work out, that's okay. You don't sweat it too much. What I would have done is I should have asked her, I'm a little rusty at this. I should have asked her, are you interviewing any other agents? And then I give the options for the appointment after she's interviewing the other 2 agents.
When I say that all the time. They're like, what are you talking about? Interviewing agents, most people don't even.
Good. Well,
Which
that's
is
good.
We're
Yeah.
bringing in this, wow.
And usually if they got a trusted referral, they won't interview other agents, but you really want to know, are you interviewing other agents? Because I like to be last to be the one interviewed, because then I can get them to commit at the listing at that appointment, right? If I'm the first and they're interviewing 2 others, I have to be really good at convincing them to sign and commit with me then. And if I am the first, then I'm going to say, is there anything, we'll talk about quizzes in a minute, but basically I'm going to say, is there any reason not to list with me? And they're going to be like, no. Then I'm able like, great, let's get started. I'll cancel your other appointments for you. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they feel like out of loyalty, they've got to still interview the other agents. I'll be glad to call and cancel the other appointments for you. I've done that before. Because they don't want to call and cancel.
Okay.
So if you take that off their shoulders, they're like, no problem. So ideally you try to be last. Like if you're a really good agent, then you want to be first and just knock it out of the park. But as a newer agent, you probably want to be last.
If you're first, do you want to find a way to come back in?
So if they're not willing to sign at that appointment and they're still interviewing 2 more, then I make them schedule an appointment for after the 3rd for me to no worries. I know you're meeting with your last appointment. You said Wednesday at 2 and you'll say, yep. And I'll go, great. Why don't I set a time to come back Wednesday at 4? And then that way, you can either let me know at that appointment, you've picked somebody else, or we can sign the paperwork, get the ball rolling, because I'd love to get, the lockbox on and get the stager scheduled and all of that. And so then I scheduled to be a follow-up appointment right after that last one. Okay, so we've done our lead sheet. I know the address. I'm then going to go and pull and do a CMA. A CMA is going to give me a range of value. I'm going to look at comps for the neighborhood and come up with, let's say 5 to 550 probably range. I'm not going to narrow down that range until I've seen the home. There's no way we know until we see the home and smell and all of that, like we talked about before. But what I need to do is I need to know the range. I need to pull the comps to justify whichever way I'm going to go on my range. And then I want to do a net sheet for the appointment that helps me get into the commission conversation. So, so at this point, as soon as I'm done with the phone call, I'm working on my CMA, but I'm putting together what I mentioned on the phone call is the seller's guide. If you are, especially if they're interviewing others, I highly recommend you deliver a packet to them at least a day or two before the appointment. Like sometimes the calls, like if you're on floor duty, they may call and want to meet you that afternoon, and then you can't do the guide. But if you have the opportunity, deliver a packet ahead of time. And in the packet, you're going to have like their homework. So I do a seller's disclosure in there. I have the T47 in there, which I do like a post-it on the T487 that says this will accompany your survey. If you have time, please have your survey ready for the appointment. The seller's disclosure is a form that they'll fill out. So you could just say this is a form you can fill out either before the appointment, or we can discuss it at the appointment. And then I'm going to put together in there my seller's guide. And we talked about this last week. There are 2 seller's guides in here that you have to work with. One is a Word doc. It's very basic, but it helps you get going. Let me download this because otherwise it doesn't look as good. So there's a Word doc version, which is what I'm going to teach you guys about today. But then there's a fancier version in Canva. We took Brandy's and changed it up. Brandy's was overkill. So then there's a Canva link right here. So if you take this link, you can go edit it in Canva.
I can't see what you're doing. I don't know if you.
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen with you guys.
Yeah,
Shoot, sorry. Gosh darn.
I was about to say the same thing.
Thank you. All right. So go back. So portal listings. So there's the Canva link to the guide or the Word version. We're going to do the Word version today, but the Canva link or the Canva guide is much what do I want to say the word? It's
Fancy.
It's fancier. Yeah, it's branded to Realty One colors and all that stuff. So either one works. You just want to pick one and start spending time updating and getting it ready now. Because once it's time for a phone call, like if you're on floor duty next week, you can have a listing appointment in the blink of an eye, and now you don't have time to spend 5 hours customizing your guide. You're screwed, and now you're under pressure. You don't want to be under pressure. With that note, you're all learning your contract right now. Everybody's spending a day learning a page a day of your contract. Just a reminder. Chase, when you jump into all the online materials, you'll hear me talk about that. All the classes online. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this Word version. Actually, let's do something. I'm gonna show you guys. Hold on.
And on the Word version, just go to Google Docs or RSVP.
So the portal and then listings. Thank you. Can you do me 2 favors? Grab a new agent training binder for Layla. They're on a chair when you walk in my office on the right, and then grab one of UCAN seller guides for me. I want to show them. Thank you.
I've got my fancy one here too, if you need me to pass it around.
Oh, do you? Okay. Sure.
A little fancy.
Fancy's good.
And we had to cut out so much, it's way too fancy.
That's okay. So,
We referred to it a lot.
oh, yeah.
I think she enjoyed it.
yeah, so this is what Carrie used. I'll show you guys online for one of her listing appointments. Hers is huge and overkill. It's not overkill, but no one's going to read this giant book. It's impressive, like if they're shopping you. The seller's guide in Word is like the basic one. So in my opinion, like get the basic one done, and then you can always improve on it as you go. Ultimately, what I recommend is you get to something like if you print it out from Word or Canva, you can print them out here. I have it on here. It's,
Yeah, I'd show the condensed one, I shall condensed Brandy's down.
oh, did I just,
So if you had Canva up, then you can show. the
No.
colors good.
I did.
Oh, gotcha.
I had it, but I clearly lost it. Oh, it's because it's,
Oh, that's.
Oh,
better?
ROG Seller's Guide 2019,
board
one.
It's gonna be on the drive, so yeah, whatever.
so this is the one on the drive. I don't really want to, I'm not gonna waste time on it. Anyways, so the point, so this one was created in Canva. It's a little fancier. This is UCAN's. But you can take it and get them printed. So these we got printed at FedEx Kinko's right here on Brody. And so it's got testimonials, some stats. It has the same basic content that's on the two guides that we're talking
I
about.
like how it's a book.
Yeah, but it's a book. These are like almost $20 a piece to print if you only are printing a couple of them. But I mean, $20 for a listing appointment to get the listings worth every cent, right?
Very
But the idea is you want to start with one of the two templates and add a bio, add some testimonials. You guys are brand new and you're like, I have no testimonials, but make every family member and friend write a testimonial, which could be speaking to the character, to your character, right? And saying, I would always use Chase on on all my real estate needs, right? They don't have to say they've never used you. They can just say in the future, they're always going to use you, right? So you can come up with some testimonials like that. You know, I trust Layla implicitly. I can't recommend her highly enough. You know, those kind of things. We just want a few in the book. And then stats wise, you guys don't have any stats yet, but you can use company stats. And there is a website.
I'm sorry, Carla, the
Yep.
link that you gave us, that's the Canva one, is that the one that you have in your hand, that's Chad's?
No.
Is that one access?
No, this is you, because this is specifically about you,
But
Kim.
we could take the one in Canva or the Word document and go to FedEx. and
Yep,
take it into that.
Yep, I emailed them the PDF and told them I wanted printed as a booklet and they printed them.
Luxury.
It's, this one's pretty cheap. You can get like much better paper and all that. And if you order more, the price goes down. And I would shop printers, like we just would like grab those, but
You're on the team. Oh, you're the broker.
well, I'm technically on the team, yes, but I don't do anything on the team. I don't have time to be on the team.
It's so short and sweet. I like this.
Yeah. So anyways, so either way, the goal is right now for you guys to start working on your guide, get it customized. So at a very minimum, you can print it out here in color, put it in a folder, take it to the door, right? The idea is on the guide and delivering it up front is that it sells them on you and the brokerage and your marketing services so that when you're on the listing appointment, you don't have to go into that. The listing appointment is about touring the home, building a bonding rapport, building rapport and bonding with them, and then talking about the sales price and your commission. Those are the goals. And then sign the listing agreement before you leave. Like that's the goal of the appointment. If you have to spend a whole lot of time talking about your marketing and your services, then you don't get to do the rest and it's harder to win the appointment over. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So especially if they're interviewing 3 or 4 agents, nobody's delivering a guide ahead of time on their doorstep. Like it really sets you apart from everybody else.
I like that one so much. I'm just trying to take pictures.
The timeline.
Yeah.
I can share it with you guys. You're just going to want to really change it up because it's
Yeah.
all about UCAN
I
stats and
like
everything.
the last- I
But
like the marketing. And then all.
and
that.
and the key is, and we talked about this last week, don't put stuff in your guide that you aren't willing to do. Like at a very bare minimum, we should all be doing professional photography. But I also think you may want to add drone and do video. And the video doesn't have to be a videographer. You can be the video person, right? And our VA can do the editing for you guys. But you want to put stuff staging. I highly recommend you do professional staging. That doesn't mean I'm putting furniture in your house. That means I'm paying for an hour consultation for someone to come. You do it, don't you? Yes. So you pay for an hour consultation for Morgan to come to the house and tell them what to do. So you want them to do, you know, you don't want to be the bad guy on the listing appointment telling them to take down Johnny's artwork off the fridge. You want the stager to do it. Yeah, exactly. Like I used to make my stager I'd call as soon as my appointment's done and be like, here, get them to do this and this. And she already knows, but I always tell her my concerns too. And you let her go be the bad guy. And they will listen to her because it's a professional that you've paid for. So that, and I tell them, I'll say, do as much or as little as you want of her list. But a good stager is going to usually try to work with the stuff they have. She's going to tell them to pack a lot of it up, put it in the garage, move these pieces around. You know, they may suggest you buy some towels or you buy a plant or something to add a little greenery or color, but usually it's working with what they have. And then on vacant listings or high-end listings, we may want to spend money on furniture, and we can talk about that if we've got time at the end, but yes.
Real quick, I know.
Yep.
we're running out of time. Okay, so after our last roundtable, I was thinking maybe I should do a pre-survey. I don't have a budget hardly at all.
Pre-survey
The
or pre-inspection, yes,
But I was also thinking maybe I should do staging. I think my money would be better spent on staging.
1,000%.
Okay, and so what is the average I'm looking at?
Morgan, what do you charge for an hour consultation?
I do, it's typically 2 hours and it's $250.
Okay, so yeah, anywhere between 2 to 3.
And that's just the consultation.
It's a consultation. So it's like they usually start at the outside and tell them what to do outside, and then they go through the house telling them what to do, and then the backyard.
Who is that? Is the stager in there?
Morgan, who's an agent, does staging, and she charges $250 for a 2-hour consultation.
Morgan, okay, cool.
She'll go post her information on Hub for you guys.
Okay.
So, poor Morgan, she wants to sell houses too, but we can use her. And there's some other stagers online, but the idea is your owners usually will do a lot of what the stager tells them, and that will help make your life so much easier. Like it will look better. It's going to get more money and sell quicker. There's a lot of stats on staging and how well it works. And so I highly recommend investing the $200 to $300 because you're going to make it back in commissions and in it selling quicker, which is getting them out of your lives quicker.
And we're, so in the game, like, let's just say I just started, let's say I don't have all these months since November.
Right.
waiting, Although she's been doing a ton of stuff. I mean, they've got everything
Right.
cleaned up. We're, so now we're about 2 weeks.
Yep.
And so should staging have happened earlier or can staging happen
Well,
now?
so
The
your
consultation.
situation's a little different, and then we're gonna talk about it, and then I'm gonna make you not talk about it anymore, only because we're
Okay.
gonna run out of time. But your situation, like, is sister still living there?
Yeah, they live there. There's some furniture there. They've cleaned out most of the rooms. There's
So
a ton
then,
of stuff in the
now the
garage.
stager could come in and give some advice on what to do to get photo ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Photo ready.
Yeah.
Okay, or enough time so they can go.
Yep.
do the stuff.
All right, so I'm gonna go through the guide really, really quickly, because we're not pitching the guide on the appointment, because we've given it to them ahead of time. What I want to talk about is what am I saying in the appointment, and that's what I'm worried we're gonna run out of time, but we just may have to carry it over to part 2 next week. Okay, so in the guide, again, you're gonna, this is a very simplified version. And if you guys Google, there's a million listing presentations online. I have access to a million listing presentations. So if you guys want to see others, let me know. But we're going to talk about like the game plan, like what are we going to do? We're going to do all this work pre-market. Then this is what we're going to do while we're on the market. And then why do I use professional photography? So this is a listing. This listing, I actually paid and got furniture in here. The listing failed to sell with another agent. This was his photos. And then they hired me and I charged them a full 6%. They wanted a discount and they were interviewing other agents who would do a discounted commission. And I said, you don't want to do a discount. I will pay for staging. I ended up selling it like within 30 days, getting the full commission and got the more money than when it was listed previously. And it cost me like $3,000 for the furniture, but I made a full extra percent commission on it. So it was well worth it to me to do it.
You did staging
Um,
prior to-
Yep. So we're showing them before and afters. If you guys pull up 7413 Twilight Shadow. Okay, yeah, so 7413 Twilight Shadow is a listing that was listed with another agent before. I then came in and I made them paint and do some other tweaks, and then I did furniture again on that one. And you'll see, and I sold it. I didn't get them more money. It was a huge, like $1.5 million listing, but it just sold And they're thrilled. Like, so you can see the before and after and differences. And you can pull those photos to put in your packet because you can say, we've done this. We as the broker have done this, and we have. So you can use those. 7413 Twilight Shadow. If I have time, I'll jump in MLS and show you. But so we're showcasing, you know, everything we're doing, the marketing stuff. And again, you guys can tweak this to your own, but this is a good starting point. Just read it all and make sure you know what it all says, because you don't want to give them a guide and then you show them the listing appointment and they're like, well, explain on page 3 what you mean by blah, 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 right? And you're like, oh crap, I didn't know it said that, you know? And keep in mind too, this was created a long time ago, and so things may have changed. You may want to focus more on social media marketing, you know, whatever. But this gives you guys a good starting point. It talks about pricing, timing, and then it kind of goes into a cursory staging checklist if you weren't doing staging, or if they wanted to get started on their own right away, kind of thing. Yep. Okay. It's 2 words. It's there, I promise you. Here, I'll jump in real quick. Layla, you're getting blown up. You're fine. Your light just makes me think of like a fire alarm. I'm like, the building's gonna explode. So just type, well, don't type it correctly. Do 7413 Twilight in the speed bar, Carrie, like I'm doing.
Or the speed bar.
And so the withdrawn at 1.595 was the before. So they started interviewing me while it was on the market. So they were asking 1.6 million, lovely red color. Some really outdated light fixtures, weird cut up rooms, older house, amazing property though. The property is flipping amazing. So then I sold it. We ended up at 1.3. We did a price, like I made him go on, or I made him go on at 1.4. We reduced to 1.3. We ended up at 1.18. I was hoping to get like $1 million, honestly. So we got rid of all the red. And then these are like the furniture I brought in, you know, furniture and really staged.
Now, what does that cost for the stage?
So I spent, you know, keep in mind, I was charging a full 6%, and I was saying, this is what I'm going to do. So I spent $3,000 on furniture for the first month, and I renewed it 2 more months. You could, yeah, well, it's through the staging company. And so each renewal was like $800. I didn't necessarily have to do the additional months. You need it for the first month to get photos taken, and for it to look good, and it's going to get the most traffic in that first month. What happened though was, for the freeze that happened in February, literally my furniture got delivered on Tuesday and the freeze hit like Wednesday, or furniture came Monday, freeze hit Tuesday. And so then all my trees fell down on this property. And so we couldn't even go on the market for like 3 more weeks. And so I paid for a month of furniture, and it was worthless because we weren't on
But
the
you know
market.
what you're doing. You have
Yeah.
it.
So it made all the difference in the world. Like look at that master, you know, like it's unreal what it did. And then I did video.
Can you show us?
You guys aren't seeing it again?
No.
I stopped sharing. Sorry. Yeah, y'all just have to remind me. I lose my mind. So, thank you. It is this. So this was,
What are you guys? Not much.
so there's the red. Lovely,
Oh,
cut up, not great. And then when I went on the market, I'm navigating on the stupid laptop. We did furniture, dining, living, the front room, master. Like we ended up painting the whole thing. I had them paint inside and out. They spent like 25,000 to get it ready. But for the price they wanted, they just had to, and they have money and they knew it, and they just needed a professional to tell them what to do. So my point for you guys is you can take the withdrawn photos. You can't publicly market the withdrawn photos, but you can put them in your guides, right? Like that agent paid for them, we can't really use them, but you can put them in the guide and then take my other photos and show befores and afters and what you can do. You just don't need to promise furniture unless it's something like this. Usually if it's a vacant listing with a decent floor plan, you can do box brownie, which is virtual staging, and that will help sell it all day long.
The photography company that I follow. I don't know the name of the
Carrie, I
company,
love you.
But they're doing virtual.
Oh, good. Okay,
So the box-
fabulous.
Should I do them or the box brown?
Whatever, doesn't matter.
That question should have come to this. Box brownie or the photographer? Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing virtual staging. Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Carlin, I used the Twilight before and after for my
Oh,
listing.
good. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
They wanted to see examples of my staging because I was promoting staging. And they
Yep.
said, well, could you show us examples? And I'm like, being a young agent, and you were like, use the word we a lot.
Exactly.
And so,
We do this, we do that.
yeah,
awesome.
they were blown away. So yeah, but yeah, I just took the before and after, screenshotted them and put it in the email.
Good. And I did a video on this one. I was hoping the link is on here, but it's not. And so like I went out and shot the video myself. I did 26 different clips of this stupid property. It's a huge property, in a huge house. It's almost 5,000 square feet. And then I took all 26 clips, sent them to the VA, and she put it all together. So like you guys just send them to the VA, let her mess with it. But the point is, this can give you guys examples of stuff to use for your material. So we're delivering the seller's guide. We show up to the house. Let's talk about the appointment. I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes talking about the appointment. We can run long. Lunch and learn's not till noon, so I can keep going after that if we want, or we'll table this and talk about next week. But the appointment is designed. Now I'm going to stop sharing again, and y'all, if I go back online, remind me. The listing appointment, we want to show up, build rapport. We want to see the property and talk about pricing and make sure we agree on price. Then we want to pull out the net sheet and talk about commission and agree on the commission. Then there shouldn't be any other hurdles to overcome. So then the last step is the close for the listing agreement to sign. That's the goal of the appointment. So I posted on Hub probably a month or so ago that an agent, a podcast that I like, says we shouldn't do the property tour first, that the property tour should be different, should be last. Really, it's about building rapport with the client. I can see it both ways. I'm going to teach you my way, but there's like a million ways to skin a cat, right? Like you guys figure out what works for you. This is how I've always done it. It's always worked well for me. So this is how I do it. So when I come to the home, I'm going to ask them, I'm going to say, hey, Stacy, where's a good place to put my stuff down? A dining room table somewhere where we can meet at the end, but I'd love to put my stuff down and then have you give me a tour. And then she's going to lead me to the dining room table. I'm going to put all my stuff down. We want a formal setting where I can look at all decision makers and be in control. I want them to understand I'm in charge. I have a system, a proven, repeatable system for selling homes. This is the way I do it because I'm going to get you the most money for top dollar. Because otherwise, if like all opinions are involved and everybody gets a say in it, then I lose control and it's a hot mess. Does that make sense? But if I can build rapport and trust and they believe me, then they're going to see that I'm worth the money I'm asking for, because I'm going to get them top dollar for the home. So I'm controlling it right from the get-go. So you show me the table and I say, great. Now, Stacy, if you wouldn't mind, let's do a tour. What I'd love to do, if it's okay with you, I'm going to take notes as we go through the home. This is another way for you to set yourself apart from all the other agents. No one's taking notes. You need to take notes for a lot of reasons. Stacy, as we walk through the home, if you will point out any updates, any improvements you've done to the home, also show me why you bought the home to begin with. If there's anything, particular features or things that really made you fall in love with the home, I want to know about them for marketing purposes for my marketing plan. But then if you would also point out anything that needs to be addressed, that needs to be fixed, that isn't working, so that either we can talk about actually getting that work done before we go on the market, or at least that way we know so that we can let buyers know about those issues. Does that make sense? And then she's going to walk through it and I'm going to ask questions and take a ton of notes. I need notes for a lot of different reasons. I need to know what features to really emphasize that she loves so that I love them too. I also want to know, like, is it a gas stove? Is it a gas dryer? Is it a gas water heater? Is it sprinklers? Are they automatic? Are they in the front yard and the backyard? Is it septic? Is it well? Is it propane or natural gas? Is, you know, are there solar panels? Are the solar panels leased? Is the water softener leased or owned? You know, there's a million things we need to know before we go on the market. So I'm asking all those questions and taking all those notes. What happens is if you don't take a bunch of notes, you forget by the time you get your photos, you're like, oh crap, did I get a photo of that? Because the MLS is asking you, is it this, is it that? And you don't know the answers. And you're looking at your photos hoping you're going to get the answers, right? But the photos aren't going to tell us if the dryer's gas or not, that kind of stuff. So we're taking all our notes, we're walking around, and while we're doing that, we love the home. We can't wait to market it. We're all excited about it. One of the last listing appointments I ever did, like now if I sell a home like Twilight, it's because it's like my best friend's mother who had to use me, right? Otherwise, I don't normally do real estate ever. But the last true listing appointment where she was interviewing other agents I went on, I was thinking, I don't have time for this. This is ridiculous. It's the worst floor plan. It had a million things wrong with it and it smelled. And she could totally tell in that listing appointment that I hated her house. Don't do that. Like I totally shot myself in the foot, but I wasn't in the right frame of mind and I was off my game and I didn't want the listing apparently. So I didn't get it. So you need to, like, even if it is the worst thing in the world and it's going to be very difficult, we have to love it and we have to highlight what we love about it. We also have to address the concerns, but we need to do it in a tactful way. Does that make sense? So as we're walking through the home, we love it, we love it, we love it. Now we come back and we circle back around and we sit down at the table. The first conversation is pricing. So guys, I love the house. It is gorgeous. I can't wait to market it. I'm going to go find the buyer, and really the right buyer for this home is going to be blah, 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 right? And they're gonna be like, God, she's so good. She knows what she's talking about. And then I'm going to go into, let's talk about price. Now on the phone, you mentioned you really didn't have a price in mind to sell the home. I've been studying the market and I came to you today with a range in mind. What we've been seeing sell in this neighborhood is anywhere from about 550 to 650, depending on the size and the amount of updates. You've really updated this home. In fact, you know, it's got that third car garage I wasn't even expecting. I really think we can go on the high end of that range. And I say a number. Or in my mind, I'm walking through the home and I'm like, oh my gosh, it stinks. It needs fresh paint. It needs updating. So then I'm like at the low end of the number. The net sheet I've brought is always at the low end of my number. I never want to bring a net sheet and show them what they can net at the top end if I'm on the appointment telling them they're going to get 100,000 less than that. Does that make sense? But it's really easy to show them the low end and say, good news though, we're going to get you 100,000 more than that. Does that make sense? We want to do a net sheet too, because they think in their minds, a lot of sellers who have never sold before don't know they're paying commissions. They don't know they have to pay title. They don't understand all these expenses. And so we need to make sure, because they think in their mind, oh, I'm going to get 6 for it. I only owe 5, so I'm walking away with 100,000. And that's just not the case. They're going to walk away with 50. Okay. So it's really important we show that in the net sheet. So, and even experienced sellers forget that they got to pay all that. Or maybe they sold in another state and it was different. So, or a different market, right? Like if they sold in the last couple of years, they weren't paying for anything. The buyer was paying everything. And now the seller's paying for everything. So we've got to go over those numbers. So the first thing I do is I talk about the numbers. I brought comps with me on the listing appointment. So if I have to justify numbers to them, I can, but I'm normally not pulling them out. If we agree on the price, then I don't have to pull them out. If we don't agree on the price, then I'm pulling them out and showing them why I'm right and they're wrong in a very polite and tactful way. If they're a high SC, they're not going to tell you their number, but when I go to close on the appointment, they're probably not going to commit yet. An SC is not going to commit anyways. They're going to want to go study it all. But if you're having problem closing on the appointment at the end, it's either they didn't agree on the price or they don't agree on the commission. So we talk about price. Let's say we think we agree on 550 for a list. Then I'm going to pull out my net sheet next. And when I show them, and it was on the low end, so it's 500, but I'm talking about we're going to get you almost 50,000 more. It's not quite 50 because commissions are based on sales price. So the commission expense is going up and the title policies is based on sales price. So that goes up a little bit more. So it's not quite a $50,000 increase. When I'm talking about net sheets, let me just show you this. Under listings, there's an estimated seller's net sheet. This is an Excel spreadsheet. You're going to want to download it because it puts it in a Google Doc. If you modify it from Google Docs, it doesn't work very well. It'll end up with errors. So you're going to want to download it into Excel, or I use this one because I can put notes on here. I think it's much easier to read. You're going to start with instructions on page 1 and it walks you through how to do it. And then it all comes to results on page 2. You save that as a PDF. You keep 1 in your file and you take 1 on the listing appointment for the client. Does that make sense?
You may want to
you can-
share the screen again. If people
Oh,
want to.
thank you, y'all. I'm terrible at this today. I'm normally not back and forth on here. That's why. So listings, net sheet, page 1 are instructions, page 2 are the results. I like this. It's easier to read. The other option is every title company out there does a net sheet you can use. I just think it's harder to read and understand. It's very limited on the options, like you just plug stuff in and it prints it out. And you can't customize it. So I would do this net sheet. And I would say, here's Layla, here's the net sheet. You know, like I said, I did it on the lower end. I think we can get you more than this, but this is showing, and on this one, it shows 2 and 2.5% commission, but I would go on the listing appointment always. Why? Oh, don't do that. Let me go to the actual net sheet. Always go with 6% in mind. If you haven't talked commissions ahead of time, if you've talked commissions ahead of time, then you're going to adjust it to whatever they want, right? But you're going to go on the appointment. We don't know if they have a commission concern. We're going to do 3%. They probably don't even know that they have to pay commissions at this point. So I'm pulling it out and I'm saying, we agree on the price. It's going to be 50,000 more than this price, but this gives you a good idea of the expenses involved. Those first set of fees are typically what the title company is going to charge each side of the transaction. So they charge the buyer and they charge the seller these fees for handling the transaction. Nothing we can do about them. They're fixed fees by the title company. The next set of fees are fees that are negotiable, but in this market, we're seeing the seller pay these fees. Typically, the buyer is going to ask for a home warranty. That gives the buyer peace of mind that when they close on the home, if something breaks, they have a phone number to call instead of calling us and being mad at us. Before, when we used to sell homes without home warranty companies around, sure enough, we'd close in the middle of July and the AC would go out the next week. And now they're yelling at us thinking we lied and band-aid the HVAC and didn't disclose conditions of the HVAC. And now they're suing us for a new air conditioner. This avoids all of that. They get to call a home warranty company. The home warranty company comes out and helps fixes the AC for the buyer and everybody's happy. So for $700 or so, it's worth that peace of mind to let the buyer, you know, have that company to call. The next 2 lines are the commissions. I, Mr. Seller, charge 3% to sell your home. I would leave it at that and stop talking. Then I would say, I recommend we offer 3% to a buyer's agent, but you get to pick what you want to offer a buyer's agent. That's really important to understand. We say it that way. They get to pick. Right now, there are lawsuits, major lawsuits going on about this commission and how it's handled. So the seller picks always. However, if your seller comes back and says, I only want to offer $1,000 or 1%, you can choose not to take the listing. I recommend you choose not to take the listing, but it's up to you. If they're offering 2, 2.5, or 3, take the listing. I would stress how hard a buyer's agent works in this market. And so I would prefer if we offer 3, but it's up to you, Mr. Seller. I cannot dictate what the seller offers. Does that make sense? Question. We
Not only have to sell it to the client, we have to sell it to the agent.
No, because we cannot, under any circumstances, and part of the lawsuits going on is that there's no coercion amongst realtors. And so the minute you have that conversation, that's what it looks like we're doing.
But at what point you explain to them, like, obviously they're gonna know, like, you're offering a higher commission, like at 3%.
But that's not really true, because the buyer is seeing homes online and picking what homes they want to go see, and it has nothing to do with the commission offer. And we have to go show every home a buyer wants, regardless of the commission offer. So while mentally we can make that connection, that is really not the reality of the market we're in. We can explain a buyer works really hard and we believe they're worth 3%. But if you're looking to save some money on commissions, then I'd feel comfortable doing 2.5 or 2 at the lowest. But I'm willing to walk away from the listing if you want to offer less than 2. I'm just not going to do that to my industry. Does that make sense? I always started my listing appointments with, on this appointment, we're going to get to know each other better. You're going to interview me for the job, and I'm going to interview you to see if I am willing to take you on as a client, because I don't take on every client I meet with. My time and my systems are very valuable and cost me a lot of money, and I just don't work with everyone I meet. And that makes them fear of missing out, which is another sales tactic. So I highly recommend it.
Arlen,
Yes.
how would you go about if they say, I just want to offer them 1,000? How do you say, oh, no?
I would say,
No.
you are absolutely allowed to do that. I'm not the right agent for the job if you decide to do that. And then I would end the appointment and walk out the door, to be honest. I'm just not.
Okay.
And right now, as a new agent, I blame my broker, and not blame something.
Yeah, you know, you can say,
My broker is outstanding, and this isn't what we do, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow.
yeah,
my broker
1,000%.
right now, 'cause I'm new, and
yeah, no, you could blame me 1,000%. Yeah,
But the other word isn't just blame you, but I lean on you.
yeah,
Like, hey, this is my first, well, I didn't say it, but I'm new at this. My
Right.
broker's outstanding.
Yeah.
Coach me through this.
yeah. If you're getting, and that's a good thing to mention real quick before we run out of time. And if you guys, I'm going to keep talking, but if you have to go at 11, you can go. You know, if somebody says, how long have you been doing this? Other than Layla and Chase, Morgan, you got your license in 2022 or 2023?
No, I just got it.
Okay, so Morgan can't say this either. But for the rest of you, you can say this is my second year in real estate, because technically it's your second year in real estate, right? You were licensed in 22 and you're licensed 23, second year. You can say though, so I wouldn't say I just got my license yesterday, but you could say this is my first year. I'm working on my first year.
Yeah.
But what's great about my services is that I've partnered with my broker who's been doing this for over 20 years. And we're one of the biggest local brokerages in the market. We have over 168 agents to work with you. So you not only get me, but you get all that support. So you're getting 2 for the price of 1.
Broker.
Thank you, Karen. So saying something like that is a really good off the cuff response for that kind of thing. Okay, back to NetSheet. So I'm going to say I charge 3. You're going to have a couple different scenarios. They're going to say, well, my neighbor told me I shouldn't offer anything. I shouldn't sell my home for 6%. I've been told, you know, I can find an agent who will do it for 5. At that point, you can choose to do 2.5 and 2.5, maybe. I highly recommend you do 2.5, 2.5 instead of 3 and 2, but it's up to you. You need to be prepared for the discount of some kind conversations, because they're happening more and more. The West Coast doesn't do 6% listings at all anymore. The West Coast is 5 and 4s. That is coming. And we're seeing some of it. So be prepared for that. In my opinion, something is better than nothing. And a sign in the yard is going to give you other opportunities, right? A listing is going to bring you open house opportunities, sign calls, you know, marketing, just listed, just sold to pick up other listings. Like, it brings you opportunities, versus if you say no and you walk and you don't get the listing, then someone else is getting those opportunities, right? Something's better than nothing. If I am going to discount it, then I'm going to say, Stacy, you know what? I understand you're really dead set on 5. Anything less than 5, I'm having to cut out some of my services, and we'd have to talk about what you want me to cut out. But at 5, I'm willing to do the full service. But I'm going to do 2.5 and 2.5, because I want to make sure I take care of that buyer's agent, if you're comfortable with that. But in exchange for me saving you that % on commission, I'm going to hit you up for referrals. Are you up for that? And then I'm going to hit them up for referrals and make them reward me. But when you do refer me, don't tell other people I did it for a discount. Is that fair? And they're going to say, yep, okay. And we're going to continue on down the road. The other option is you say, I'm willing to do it at a discount, but what are you willing to take off your plate as far as my marketing services? Because I can't spend money on photography and staging and drone and video and social media boosting and ads and all of that if you're wanting a discount. So what are you willing to give up? And then I'm going to use that as a tool to have the discussion of what you really are looking for, Layla, when you're asking me for a commission cut, is that you're really wanting to net the most money possible at closing. Isn't that right? I really think I'm worth spending, and it's to your benefit for me to spend the money at the 3% level. Because at 3%, we're trying to save $5,000, right? You're trying to net 5,000 more. I think if you let me do my job and spend the money on all those services and you pay that 5,000, I'm going to net you a lot more than 5,000 at closing. Does that make sense? And you try and save it that way. So we're going to agree, but then I'm going to highlight the bad idea it is, and then I'm bringing it around and give them one more chance. Does that make sense? And if I'm still can't do it, then I may cut my battles and do it at the 5 or whatever, right? It's up to you guys. I can't dictate that. It's totally up to you. If though we've had this discussion and they act like, okay, 3 and 3, then we're going to do that. We're going to role play that. So Chase, you're going to act like you agree to my price and you agree to the commission. So are there any questions about this? The 3% and the 3%, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, all sounds good.
Okay, great. Are you ready to get started? So what I'm then going to say, and as I've gone and toured them around the house, I'm mentioning that if they list with me, as they saw in my seller's guide, I work with the stager. I'd love to get the stager set up. So if we commit to working together, when we're done, we're going to sign the listing agreement, and I'm going to call my stager the minute I walk out the store, and I'm going to get Morgan set to come out hopefully in the next day or two, so that you guys can have this weekend to start working on the home and getting it ready to go on the market, because you want to be moved by August, which means we got to get on the market quick. So now I'm kind of I'm bringing them back to that conversation. So I'd love to get the stager, set up. Now you're going to say no to my next question. Okay. So Chase, I'd love to, like I mentioned when we were walking around, I'd love to get the stager scheduled. But in order to do that, we need to go ahead and sign the listing agreement so I can get her, oh my God, I can't talk anymore. Get that call scheduled. So are you ready to sign? Shall we get started?
No, not just yet.
Say you want to think about it.
I want to.
Okay. So if they give you that stall, they want to think about it. Usually it's either they don't agree on the list price or they don't agree on the commissions. They've got someone who's told them they can get it for less, and we've got to revisit those points. Okay. So he's just said no. So I'm going to go, fair enough. I understand. If they're a high SC and they say, I need to think about it, they really do need to think about it. And there's not much you can say, but I would still have this next conversation with them regardless. So I understand you want to think about it. I totally get that. You are under a timeline. Is there anything that you think I missed? Do you think I'm the right person for the job? You're a yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So then my gut is telling me we either aren't aligning on the sales price or the commission. Which number has got you a little bothered?
Probably the commission.
Okay, so we're okay at the sales price?
Yeah.
Usually if they don't agree with your sales price, they're going to be pretty honest with you, and you're having that conversation and you're trying to align. I highly recommend, if you're 50 to 100,000 different on price, that you walk from the listing. It is not worth taking that listing. It's up to you. If they have a firm, I have to be somewhere for a job reload, then we can always test the market with their price for a couple of weeks. But within 2 weeks, we need to start coming down on that price. And if they have a hard move and a hard deadline, then it may be worth taking it on. But if we're way out of whack and there's no hard deadline, don't take it on. They will hate you and blame you for everything. And you've spent all this money and all this energy and you don't make a dime. Just my advice. Okay, so commission's a concern. So what number did you have in mind? Like what I've talked about is a 6% total commission. What number were you thinking, you were going to spend on commissions?
Like 5%.
5, okay. I totally understand that. I'd be willing, because I really want to work with you and I really love this house. I would be willing to do it for 5. But what I'm going to do, what I'd recommend we do is offer 2.5 to the buyer's agent, and then I'll take a 0.5% on my commission, 2.5 to get it done. But it's going to cost you. It's not free. Okay. So I'm going to hit you up for referrals. You're going to love me at the end of this, and I'm going to want testimonials and referrals. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, sounds fair.
Okay, let's do it. So that is one option. That's what you do. And then they're ready to get started and we go. Because sometimes they don't want to insult you by saying, my best friend told me about this realtor that will do it for 5. They're wanting to see if you've offered 5, and then they're not willing to commit. And that's the sign. We got to have that discussion. Does that make sense? So we circle back, then we get this listing agreement signed and we get going. What else did I want to say to that? Any questions on any of that? I think someone posted, but they probably had to go. Yep, Brian had to go. Anybody online? Any questions on any of that? That was a lot. Next week, we'll do CMA, we'll practice some CMAs and we'll talk values. And talk more about how to have a conversation on pricing. Everybody good? All right, I will let you all go since we are over. I know that was a lot, but we'll revisit in a couple more weeks again, but we will see you all later. You guys will miss out on our lunch roundtable. We'll see ya. Bye.